Ladies and gentlemen, this is El Cochino, Tom Lawler, and I'd like to welcome you to the podcast that puts the lotion on its own skin, LuchaWorld. Bitchin'.
Welcome everyone to LuchaWorld Podcast, episode number 97. Fredo Esparza here. We have lots to talk about this week. Actually, we're going to cover a lot of what's been happening over the past several weeks, because I think every single day there's been something new popping up in Mexico with CMLL and AAA. They've had a couple of shows, big shows. Verano de Escandalo. CML's Friday shows have featured LA Park on them. A lot of people showing up in both promotions. Some appearing in both promotions. Some leaving those promotions. A lot has gone on. I'm gonna basically go in order of everything that's been going on in Mexico, because if I just go specifically with Rey Fenix, then I'm just gonna completely confuse everyone, because he's not only appeared in CMLL, not only on via video, but also on Informa. But in between that, he made his surprise appearance in AAA. So, and LA Park, the same thing. He's made a couple of he's wrestled in CML, and suddenly he made that surprise appearance in for the Triplemania press conference. So I'll try to go in order with everything, just because it's easier that way, rather than just go one by one with each individual wrestler and what their situation is. So we'll start with CML, because they've actually had LA Park on their shows. They've been announcing Rey Fenix for a couple of days already. It's amazing what's going on, because they also gave an answer. They've kind of given some really weird answers as far as how Rey Fenix is able to appear in AAA and CMLL, not just on the CMLL side of things, but AAA side of things, and also Rey Fenix, his side of the story. LA Park, it's LA Park, so we don't really know. I think everybody kind of wonders if LA Park's going to make it to the anniversary show, and the trouble there is you never know really with LA Park and CML, just because of that weird relationship that they have. But yeah, he's basically already had 2 matches in CMLL. He's outlasted what any of us really expected he would. I think most of us thought he would be done after like the first week, or even before that, just because I think the day he did the run-in on Los Ingobernables, I think that he cursed on that show. And then the second, his first match in, they actually didn't give them mics, so he couldn't upset CML. Then after the second match he did grab a mic, but he did apologize for cursing. He apologized to the fans and to CML for that. But I'm sure he's gonna curse once again. And it's just funny that I just find it amusing that CML, and it's not CML, it's a lot of it has to do with their sponsors, also them really. But there's a lot of people involved that don't want that on their TV shows. But yeah, He's been in some interesting brawls with Los Ingobernables. I thought the May 25th match, where he teamed up with Wagner Jr. and Flyer, was much better than the one that followed on June 1st. I don't know. I mean, Hijo de LA Park, he's not bad, but he's very average. And when you see him in there with the CMLL guys, he just, like, if he was skinny and crazy talented, it would be one thing. But because Verano Jr. at one point was really skinny and super talented, and he didn't look like out of place in CMLL. But him, when he was teaming up with like Angel de Oro, and I think it was him, and he just didn't look exactly like. Actually, I think it was Angel de Oro and Niebla Roja. And even then, I mean, even if he teamed up with Mystico, he looks so. He doesn't really. I don't think he does that much. And in this match, when he was teaming up with Volador Jr. and his dad, LA Park, he just seems so I don't know. It kind of reminds me like when I used to watch the Von Erichs, and you would have like they would have like Kevin and Kerry. I think David was gone at that point, and Mike was in the ring, and you just knew right away Mike was, he didn't belong in there, and Hijo del Park kind of he just sticks out a little too much. But if they're gonna want LA Park, they're gonna have to bring him in. If you look at him, I don't even like. I think Flyer looks way better than him, and that match that they had was a lot better. It's funny because everybody's talking about the LA Park versus Roosh being the anniversary main event. That's what everybody wants. Mask versus hair. That's what I mean. They announced a Triplemania main event, and I still think everybody at that press conference, everybody was focusing so much more on LA Park, like concerned about, hey, if you lose your mask at Triplemania, how are you going to defend? How are you going to go to? Is this going to keep you out of being at the anniversary? And and LA Park said he hasn't. There's no confirmation or guarantee that match is going to happen at this year's anniversary. I think it probably will. I think it probably will happen, but it's CMLL for one. You never know. They're not. It's June also. I mean, it's barely June. CMLL the last couple of years has made the announcement for the anniversary main event sometime between early August to mid-August. Sometimes even a little later because, I think there was that one year where I think it was maybe like 3 or 4 weeks before the anniversary show where they made the announcement. And I think they only had like maybe 2 matches to build it up to build up to that. But I think everybody at that year, I think it was a little more familiar. They were a little more, you could tell they were planning towards that. But the last couple of years with La Máscara, Dragon Lee, and Niebla Roja and Grand Girl, there hasn't really been that much. There wasn't that much of they didn't plan that far ahead as they did previously. But like I said, I think that's kind of, if you're gonna pick likely matches that are gonna happen at the anniversary, that kind of seems to be the top pick right now. But like I said, it's LA Park fall apart. It's LA Park working with CML, and that can always fall apart. And I think everybody was kind of surprised with the 2 people that are just coming into CML, appearing in AAA events, kind of made it, a lot of fans question whether or not either of them were going to be on any CML shows. At the same time that LA Park was making his appearances in CMLL, on one of the most recent CML Informas, they aired a video. And when they first showed the video, it was basically just showing a hand with the tattoos on it. And I think immediately a lot of people were, because it said Animo on it, so everybody immediately knew it was Rey Fenix. And then like 2 hours later, the last 3 weeks of CML Informa have been difficult to watch. I mean, I don't know what, I was talking to somebody, messaging somebody who's a little more familiar with CMLL. And she was telling me that she hates the show. And she's not the only one. I told her she's not the only one because there's a lot of people that within the Lucha Libre community hate that show and don't watch it. And I totally understand why people don't watch it. I'm always amused because every CML Informa, I'm the only one that really reports on it, which is fine. That's the only time that's the little bit of free time that I have during the week. I have to watch Informa. I don't watch the Monday, Tuesday CML shows. Monday because I'm doing Lucha Talk, and also because I'm not going to watch Puebla anyways. I usually watch, I'll skim through it if there's something good the following day. Tuesdays I'll watch like on a Wednesday or later during the week, but I'm not going to go out of my way to like watch that. But for, Wednesdays, usually that's a busy Lucha News day. So I'm already working on like Lucha reports and stuff, and looking for posters, working on the YouTube channel, working on looking through magazines and stuff like that. So I'm already doing that. That's like the one day I'm actually working on the website. So that's why I'm able to watch Informa. And I totally understand people don't want to watch it. When I see somebody that starts watching it, I don't understand why they're watching it, because it's really like long. The ticket giveaway segments are about 30 minutes long now. Just a lot of silliness. But you do get a couple of like tidbits out of it that like help me as far as my Lucha report and stuff like that. You know, some minor tidbits. Sometimes you'll see on my Lucha report, the CML Informer recap is basically like just really short and brief, and other times you see a lot of information. It really varies, and a lot of times even the ones that have a lot of information, the show is really difficult to watch. So they had Rey Fenix on that. They showed the video at the very end, and you know, I'm pretty excited about it. I hope this is something that will be like, at least he'll make some appearances. You know, I don't think he has to be on every show. I think that's the problem I have a lot with CMLL, because a lot of the guys, when they don't bring in, like, they should bring in independent guys, just because I think it's something that'll bring, and they don't have to bring them that often. I mean, a lot of these guys aren't working. I mean, those Tuesday shows, why aren't they getting like independent guys working on Tuesday shows? Nobody's on those Tuesday shows, and you could say, oh, they're splitting it up between all these other guys in the promotion. But if you look at those the Arena Mexico Tuesday shows, the undercard is trash. I mean, the first 3 matches are pretty horrible, and you could just skip through that stuff and just watch the final 3 matches, and even that is really bad. But I mean, really, an extra booking for Arcangel. I mean, he could work Saturday, Sunday for all I care. Bring in one guy at least, just to make it different. That show should be built around like all the young guys, really. Templario, Super Astro Jr., Audaz, Puma and Tiger. And, you know, Puma and Tiger been around for a while now, but they're still young guys, especially in this CML world. And, you know, have like Rey Fenix, who's a star beyond on the Friday shows, other guys who are stars on those shows. So he's basically going to make his debut on June 8th. Should be a good match, as they booked them in there with Mystico and Caristico. So even if Rey Fenix gets booed by the crowd, which I think is going to happen, just because these CML fans view him as for 2 reasons. He's a Technico, and he's viewed as a AAA guy. And for some reason, no matter how good a guy is, it takes them a while to like warm up to them. Maybe switch over to being a Rudo or something for them to like them. Even if, you know, like Hijo del Fantasma was a AAA guy, and, you know, he didn't have that issue because different era. He's also second generation. His dad was one of the most beloved wrestlers of all time, and, you know, Pero Jr. also had tons of charisma. But, you know, I think Rey Fenix gonna get booed because it's the technical. But the good news is he's in there with Caristico and Mystico, and the odds are Mystico is gonna get booed even worse than Rey Fenix. So, and, you know, even then he's gonna get booed because the Rudo side is Ultimo Guerrero, Nero Casas, and Carbonario, who are 3 of the more popular Rudos. The Arena Mexico crowd is going to root for Nero Casas versus him, but I just hope this leads to a Barbaro Carbonario versus Rey Fenix versus Ultimo Guerrero, Rey Fenix versus Nero Casas, any of those into a singles match. Hey, Rey Fenix versus Caristico would be fine also. Anything that comes out of that, it'd be worth it. That's going to be something to look forward to. I do notice that the Friday shows are a lot better. I skip the openers anyways, because a lot of the openers, they're still pretty bad. But they haven't had the women on there. They recently had a couple of the women decide that they were going to leave CMLL. Lady Maravilla ended up showing up in AAA. It's Verano de Escandalo. So she's gone. She said she left on good terms, and I'm sure she might have left on good terms. I mean, really, I think if you look at CML's, the way they're booking the women, and the women that are kind of like that have control of the division, they're working fewer shows, and the few shows that the women appear on, it's basically the same group of women that are getting the majority of the bookings. You know, like Marcela, Dallas, Estrellita, Amapola, Seductora suddenly isn't around. Tiffany suddenly is getting more bookings also. And you weren't seeing the younger girls aren't really getting those bookings. And even, like I said, they're not getting that many anyways. So it's not really worth the trouble to be there. I totally understood why Lady Maravilla left. Zeuxis, I think, is a completely different situation. I think people are thinking that I think part of it is that she notices CML isn't booking her as much as they used to. But the way she was on Informa, on the most recent Informa, and she basically said this wasn't goodbye. This was more of a, farewell for now type of situation where, she said she could come back to CML within 3 months, 6 months, or a year. And the way she said that, it kind of hints to her possibly participating in the Mae Young Classic. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it kind of seems like, why. I don't think she hasn't been getting, like, she's getting bookings on the indie scene, but it's not like she's taking the bigger, like, if she shows up in the Crash, that's fine, because the Crash, basically, if you talk to all the guys in Mexico, they tell you that's the home base of a lot of the independent wrestlers. So they don't really have it's not an issue if she goes elsewhere. But I don't think she's going to be in AAA. I think her plan is to, take a chance and go to WWE for the Mae Young Classic. And who knows, maybe she impresses and she ends up staying there, or gets its extended time there. I have a feeling that she probably decided to do this also because she figured she was going to be on Informa and all these shows, or being interviewed after CML shows, and being asked if she ends up participating on the Mae Young Classic. She's probably just going to continue to get asked tons and tons of questions about whether or not she's going to end up in WWE, or if she's going to be back in CMLL and all this other crap. So I kind of think she probably figured, let's just get that out of the way. It's not going to stop people from asking her anyways, because now the bad news for her is, like, all her fans just keep telling her not to go to AAA. I don't see a problem. If she wanted to go there, that's fine. I mean, she has the right to do that. It's not like, as an independent, and if you look at the women's roster in AAA, it's a lot better than CML's right now. So I don't see why there should be an issue over that. The other match that happened on June 1st that I thought was really good was Angel de Oro versus Cuatrero for the CML World Middleweight title. Really good match. I really liked the finish of the match, where Cuatrero ended up beating Angel de Oro with La Mecedora, which is Angel de Oro's finisher. Just a really fun match, really good. I would say this has probably been one of the best feuds of 2018 in Mexico. Really, if you look at the top feuds in Mexico, that's got to be up there, and it's more of a technical feud where the guys have actually just been able to show that they're good wrestlers. You have Rush versus Ali Park, which is more of a crazy brawl, and it's being brought to CMLL, where it's kind of been toned down. Although the first match that they had, it wasn't as toned down. The second match was slightly, you had a lot of, the referee kind of getting involved, and, Ali Park wanting a Super Libre. But and then the other feud that I really have enjoyed this year has been the Poder del Norte OGT's feud, and that's been a total bloodbath of a feud. But the Angel de Oro Cuatrero feud is just more of a, these guys are battling. They've put the mask on the line, they put titles on the title on the line. They also have the trios. The Dinamitas have the trios titles, so they could probably do that at some point. So I think it's just a really fun feud, and another great match. I think all their matches that they've had this year have been really good. Even their trios matches, going back to last year, they've had some really good trios matches. Just a fun feud overall. So that's about all from CMLL right now. I'll get back to the other stuff with CMLL because Rey Fenix did make an appearance on Informa, but I kind of want to go to the AAA stuff before I go to that, because there's a lot of interesting stuff concerning just the confusion over Rey Fenix current situation. And I think it's kind of cool just because he's going to be everywhere. I mean, he's going to be, at some point we're going to end up seeing him. I think we're probably going to see him on another episode of MLW television, their TV show. Lucha Underground is going to start I think next week. AAA TV, Impact, possibly Impact. I don't know if he's still there. And I think he's still there. I think he might have been announced recently for another match there. What else is there? CMLL. So he's everywhere. And then you have him all over on the independents in Mexico and in the US. I mean, all he needs is to just appear in all these other promotions. I think it's cool because, I mean, if you're not in WWE, if you're not a promotion that's WWE or New Japan, you should be able to just and there's guys available for you to use as independent wrestlers. You should use them. I think it makes sense. I mean, I'm glad that this whole mess with AAA and the names has come to an end with Rey Fenix and Penta. Although, it continued because the way they explained it, it's really more of Lucha Underground kind of allowing it, and AAA not being able to stop them from doing anything. So AAA, actually, before I get to Verano Escandalo, I wanted to mention the May 31st show from AAA. This show wasn't that great, but it had this really great opener that featured Dragon Bane from IWRG. Really good. That guy's really good. I'm really curious how many people even knew he was good, because everybody when it comes to IWRG, a lot of us are just like skipping it because it's not what it was. It's not what it was, like, I would say, like, maybe even like 10 years ago, when it was really just stockpiled with a lot of talent. And a lot of the guys who are a little older now were really good back then, and now they're just kind of like, just hanging on or coming back and doing stuff. But Dragon Bane is a young guy that's been wrestling in IWRG, and he made his debut for AAA, teaming up with Iron Kid and Freelance. Freelance is that great worker that used to be a regular in IWRG. He's more of an independent outside of, I think he's made a few appearances in IWRG since he became more of an, since he had an issue with IWRG several years ago. And he's kind of been more of an, working as an indie wrestler. I think he's done way more with like Lucha Memes and all those groups. But he's a guy, I mean, I don't know why AAA or CML never bothered making him a regular. I don't think I think the trouble for him is that both promotions, like when he was younger, they both, I know CMLL, I think from what he said once was that CML wanted him to come in as a mini, and he didn't view himself as he didn't think that was a good move for him. But I mean, really, that guy should be like a guy who could be feuding with like Virus, Audaz, Templario. There's so many Stuquita. There's so many guys in that, that height and weight that are like in that, not the minis, but kind of like in the lightweight division. Electrico, Astral. You would have a pretty fun division if he came in and did that stuff. But he, in AAA, I mean, right now they're really just loading up their opening match. And he was great in this match. They wrestled Drastic Boy from DTU, Low Rider, who's basically mostly been wrestling a lot of independents. He makes a lot of appearances for Martinez Entertainment and Riot. There's mostly that region within the Monterrey and region in Mexico and in Texas. And they teamed up with Impulso, another guy who's, a long-time indie wrestler. He's another guy that I think kind of like, why hasn't he, like, he should have been more of a regular in AAA. I don't know if in, even in CML, like I said, you created a lightweight division. There's so many guys in Mexico that would fit into that. It'd be like, instead of just calling them minis, I think these guys kind of look at it like the minis division is like, just like the way the guys in WCW used to view the cruiserweight division. As fans, we thought it was cool, but then like when the guys that didn't want to be in that division started like moving out of that division or going to WWE or just wanting to get out, it kind of just like, it wasn't as, it had like Chavo Guerrero as the junior as the champion, and it still had talent, but it wasn't what it was when it was really hot, when it had Juventud Guerrera and all those guys. I think it's time for like if CML did that, like just switched everything and went to a lightweight division, I think they'd have like a really good, that would probably be like the second best division behind the welterweight division in CML. But this match in AAA, Dragon Bane, Iron Kid, Freelance versus Drastic Boy, Lowrider, Impulso, you have to go out of your way to watch that match. Really good. I think all the opening matches that AAA has had since Conan's returned have been great. Just a really fun match. The rest of the show was there was this really fun brawl between the OGTs and Poder del Norte, where Poder del Norte left Los OGTs bloody, and a great way to set up their hair match for Verano de Escandalo. The other big thing was Black Taurus doing run-ins throughout the show. That's when they started teasing Elite. there's this situation where Lucha Elite, or it's known as, to us, it's known as Lucha Elite. And in Mexico, they refer to it sometimes as Liga Elite. Apparently, it's not dead. And I guess it's going to be either part of AAA or AAA is trying to revive it. There was a rumor that AAA might have bought the rights to the name. And so they might actually be using it. I don't know why would you waste your money on that? Waste your money on other things, man. But you know, they want to create this faction, so they have Black Taurus attacking everyone, and they made a big deal about Elite. I think the previous time that we saw the Elite T-shirt, and it was a cheaper looking T-shirt, was when Teddy Hart made his appearance as part of MAD, and we haven't seen Teddy Hart since then. Jeff Jarrett did refer to him on Verano de Escandalo as part of MAD, but we still don't know what's going on with him. I'm sure he'll come back because it's Teddy Hart. He always comes back. He leaves and then he comes back, and I'm sure he's thrilled to be part of this MAD Elite faction, the MAD and Elite factions that nobody can figure out. And you know, the whole Elite thing, on this show, it kind of seemed like they were doing the whole thing. Like they had the announcer talk about, oh, what is this, an invasion and all this. They made a big deal about it being an invasion. And then in Verano Escandalo, it just kind of changed all of a sudden. So I guess I'll just go to Verano Escandalo. Again, it aired live on Twitch. All their shows are airing live on Twitch. What happens with AAA shows airing live on Twitch, you could watch it for free live. But then afterwards, if you want to watch it later on as a VOD, you have to subscribe to their Twitch channel, and I think it's like $5 for that, $5 a month. You know, if you really want to watch those shows, it might be worth it, because I mean, it's going to keep adding on. I think right now it's basically just everything from like from this year and whatever they had the previous year, but it might make it worth it for you. But to me right now, it's basically just opening matches that I want to watch, and I don't mind wait. You could also just wait for them to post it on the TV show on their YouTube channel. That also works for a lot of for all of us. The opening match was Arcángel Divino, Starfire, Dinastía, Hijo del Vikingo beating Último Maldito, Belial, Ares, and Lady Maravilla. Really good match. I recommend everyone watch this match. Starfire nearly gets, like, I think every single spot she took, she nearly got murdered by someone, either by Lady Maravilla with a sick drop kick to her head, and then later on, Belial hit this tope suicida at her that just went like directly to her head because she's tiny, so he just went right at her. I remember her being pretty good when the few times I saw her before she got hurt, because she got hurt and missed some time. I think she might have missed like 2 years or so, one or two. Like, I'm sure it might have been more than a year. And she's been wrestling a lot of on the indie scene and not being seen as much. But this performance, she looked really good. Lady Maravilla did more in this one match than I saw of her in CMLL. I mean, and you know, it also helps that they're working with the men. So it's like, at least, and you know, these guys are really good. Hijo del Vikingo, and the guys who aren't as crisp as like Hijo del Vikingo or like Belial or guys like that, they're still very capable workers, or they're very talented at doing some really creative stuff. Like Arcángel Divino, you know, this guy does the amazing that amazing Mystica that he does. Just a really crazy spot. Definitely worth going out of your way to watch that match. After that match happened, Juventud Guerrera came out. Now this, you know, I'm not a fashion expert, but you know, the MAD faction is supposed to be kind of a badass looking faction. So Juventud Guerrera comes out, and this guy is wearing like the least badass looking clothing that I've ever seen. He's wearing like jorts and like it looked like he was wearing penny loafers or like slippers or something. Or I mean, the dude, like, it's Hoovy, you know, it's Hoovy. You kind of expect this stuff. If you're gonna put him in a faction, you know, he's gonna be like a little bit of he's gonna be out there. And so I think that's the only reason you kind of give it a pass. But yeah, so he comes out there, and then Vampirica comes in and beats the crap out of him. It's basically leading up to what happens later on. But once we got to this, after that opener, the show kind of starts going downhill because they had this trios match: Pimpinella, Mamba, and Lady Shani beating Black Danger, La Hiedra, and Keira. Keira's AAA return. She really didn't do that much in this match. I didn't really think this match was very good. La Hiedra, actually, I thought the match from the May 31st show where she teamed up with Viano 3 Jr. To challenge for the AAA mixed tag titles versus Niño Hamburguesa and Big Mommy. I thought that match was it was actually okay, which I'm surprised because considering Viano 3 Jr. is the only good worker, the only one that's good in that match. Really amazed me. But the thing was that I think Big Mommy and Niño Hamburguesa were super over with that crowd. The fans love them, and Hiedra and Viano 3 Jr. were doing some really good teamwork in the match. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't great, it wasn't good, but it was okay. And that's already better than most of the matches that these guys they've ever been in. So that match happens. Then, as the match ends, Fabi Apache ran in, attacked Lady Shani, unmasked her, and she kind of was just acting up, being a Ruda. I think she's been great as a Ruda overall. So now suddenly AAA has a better women's division than CMLL, with CMLL's women's division pretty much declining. They now have Fabi, Lady Shani, Keira is there, and she's really good. I would think Keira and Lady Maravilla are going to probably be more independent, but still, the way I think AAA is booking their shows, they basically have all these the shows with all the talent that comes in from the independents, and then they have their shows where they have the regular AAA roster. The shows where you see the Murder and Monster versus Mr. Aguila and Joe Leader, or Psychosis and Hysteria versus those guys. So now they've basically added some. They have a pretty good. If they were to keep them and use them a little more frequently, it's not that bad. But I think both CML and AAA are usually really hot cold when it comes to women's wrestling. So 1 week they might actually be behind it. Then suddenly they just kind of dismiss it and don't really want to use it. I mean, the fact that CML had a long period of, and it's funny because they were using them far more frequently before, and the women were complaining because they weren't working main event, they weren't getting the big opportunity, and now now it's what, let's not use them as much. We have all these other people on the roster, let's use them a little more. And really it came about when fans started to prefer watching the micros, and you see a lot of the micros taking at least one of their bookings during each month, at least one or two of their bookings each month in the past couple of the last couple of months. So then we followed that up with another video of Mad being shown. We got a lot of that. Then La Parca came out to talk about how he was very loyal to AAA, and how so many others have come and gone and weren't really loyal to AAA. And he was talking about all this loyalty, and all the fans in Monterrey were cheering for LA Park and booing La Parca. And La Parca said, he's one of those guys that left. And the fans' reaction was more booing for him. And he talked about how he was going to defend AAA against any invaders, especially the ones coming from Lucha Elite and Mad. And I thought this was funny because later on we find out some, not so much with Mad, but with the Lucha Elite stuff. The Lucha Elite stuff is I think, well, actually even with with the Mad stuff, because they have them appearing on these matches where it's just random, the random Lucha stuff where they team them up with guys who are part of AAA and, stuff like that. So the next match was Tejano Jr. teaming up with Killer Cross and Juventud Guerrera. Exactly what I said, where, Tejano Jr. isn't part of Mad, but he agreed to team with them, and there was peace between them, and they beat the team of La Mascara, Maximo, and Pagano This match was absolutely boring, and I did not like it. La Mascara's performances in AAA have been about as boring as they were in CMLL. Really just one of the most bland guys in Lucha Libre. I don't know. I mean, I think the fact that he still calls himself La Mascara without wearing a mask is pretty stupid, especially when he comes from a family where everybody knows the last name, and he could very easily go with something Alvarado, his real name, or whatever he wants, and people would know who he is. And it's not like La Mascara, that name is making him a ton of money or anything. Look at where he's at in the third match of Verano de Escandalo. The fourth match was the six-way match where Aerostar beat Golden Magic, who was representing Lucha Elite, Darby Allin making his AAA debut, Australian Suicide, Sammy Guevara making his AAA debut. Actually, I think it was his debut. He might have been there before. I don't even remember. I think he wrestled. Didn't he wrestle recently? I could have sworn I saw. I think he was on that one show that I couldn't get to. That I missed the half of on Twitch or something. But either way, he was on this, and Drago. Drago got hurt I think he got hurt midway through the match or something. But this match was really disappointing to me. I was expecting so much more from this. It had a really bad finish, but it had these horrible, and both finishes, both of the very bad moments of this featured Golden Magic, and I kind of felt bad for Golden Magic because he's shown he's a very good wrestler on most of the time, but there's been other times where he's been in situations where he's been very bad, or not very bad, just bad moments. And in this match, he had this really bad, embarrassing moment where it might have been that because he's never been in, maybe he's never he's not too familiar with the 6-sided rings or something. I don't know. But he ran to the one of the sides, where nobody was standing, and he was gonna do a dive, like a mortal to the outside, and nobody was there. So then you see 3 or 4 of the guys, fighting their way to the other side just so he could do his dive, and I thought that was pretty funny. It looked really bad. I think they're probably gonna have to edit that out. I know there was a couple of guys who were in that match who actually, when people were praising it, kind of said that it wasn't as good as the fans were making it seem. Then the finish came where Aerostar got the pin, but it kind of seemed like I think what the Cubs fans said that what happened was they had to change the finish because Drago got hurt, so only the Hijo de Tirantes, Aerostar, and I think the person that was going to get pinned knew what was going to happen, and the rest of the guys weren't really sure what was going on. So you had Golden Magic trying to break the pin, and Hijo de Tirantes kind of wasn't sure to count it, but he still counted it anyways, and it looked just really bad. It looked so bad that the crowd booed the Aerostar the result, and it kind of seemed like they were all lost. And then all of a sudden, Aerostar and Sammy Guevara started having this brawl. I don't know if it was just to set up something else, but it actually was better than the match itself. I thought Sammy looked good when he was trying to play up to the crowd as a heel, but the match really, and Darby Allin had some cool moments in it, but it's these 6-way matches on AAA big shows to me, they've always been very disappointing. They could do something better than have these type of matches. Have a singles match or a 3-way. You have so many of these other matches being done that way that they could just done it differently. After this match, Matt came out again. This time they came with the third member, who was limping noticeably, and I mean it was over the top limping. He looked like he was just he was like this really old man that it looked more like a cartoon character, and everybody immediately said that's not Conan, because you still had the announcers oh, it's Conan, it's him. For the first time they actually said his name, and oh, it's Conan, it's him. You could tell it's him, and as soon as you see the limp, it's it's not him. And so they all come out, and it ends up being Jeff Jarrett making his way back to AAA. And my God, I don't know why they brought up, I know more or less why they brought back Jeff Jarrett. I'm guessing it's because Jeff Jarrett is always trying to get his hand into another promotion. as far as like, working out a TV deal, started running new shows or whatever he can come up with. And I think that's probably where he's going to end up. He's going to always keep that connection with AAA because and I think he also likes working for them. I mean, that's the other thing. I think he really likes working for them, but he's horrible in the ring now. I mean, he's not good. He hasn't been good for the last 20 years, in my opinion. Actually, maybe even longer. Because I thought he was okay. I thought he was okay at certain points in WCW, but, really, WCW hasn't been around since, 2001, 2002? So, So then Dr. Wagner Jr. came out to confront Jeff Jarrett. And I think La Parka came out also. And so it ended up being Jeff Jarrett decided to add himself to the main event title match. So a match that we were thinking was going to be... Well, actually, I don't think a lot of people thought it was going to just be Dr. Wagner Jr. versus Rey Mysterio. Because when they first announced it, they had a Luchador Sorpresa also listed for the match. And so we kind of figured they would just go back to that anyways, because it's AAA and they do this stuff. They can't really give us like a regular singles match. It always has to be something with a gimmick in it, like a cage match, or it has to be, instead of a singles match, they have to have a third guy involved or a fourth guy or even 5 or 6 more. So that happens. Very disappointing. So then we get to the 5th match, which is Hijo del Fantasma, Rey Escorpión, Brian Cage beating Psycho Clown, Laredo Kid, and Extreme Tiger. It was originally going to be a tag match between Hijo del Fantasma and Psycho Clown versus Rey Escorpión and Brian Cage. But when Psycho came out, they kind of started talking about how he couldn't wrestle in the match and stuff. So then Hijo del Fantasma came in, was making fun of him being injured, and then he attacked him. So Rey Escorpión and Brian Cage joined in and started attacking Psycho Clown. And then, who makes their way representing Lucha Elite? Extreme Tiger and Laredo Kid. A bunch of people were mentioning how they don't even remember Laredo Kid's appearance on Lucha Elite, on Lucha Elite. And I think we were talking about it on Lucha before Lucha Talk. And I think we came to we were able to figure out that he was in like one match or something. I think it was in that cruiserweight match. But we couldn't remember because I think they clipped it for television. So they came out representing Elite. Now you see the problem with Elite. Now you have these guys who are teaming up with like the AAA guys. But then you have Black Taurus coming out and attacking everyone. And that was the other thing. Black Taurus didn't make his way onto this show. He should have been there at least to like end our pain for a couple of these matches. This match, what ends up happening, they start the match and suddenly the lights go out. Power outage in the building. I think it might have been within that neighborhood. And so they wrestled in the dark for much of the match. You couldn't really see anything. They were able to continue to stream the show live, to continue to stream the show. And that really hurt this match. I don't think they're probably... If I was AAA, I wouldn't really air this. I would probably just like clip it or edit it down to just like a highlight package. I would not air this entire match on the TV show just because it just doesn't look good to like air that in the dark and you can't really see anything. The little that I saw, it looked good. Unfortunately, it was so dark that you really couldn't see that much, and I think that really hurt the match. That hurt a lot of people's opinions on the match, and it was unfortunate because I thought there was a chance it could be good. The 6th match, and really to me this was the reason I was going to watch Verano Escandalo. Los OGTs of Verano, Chessman, Superfly beat Poder del Norte, Carta Brava Jr., Mochocota Jr., and Tito Santana in a hair match. This match was great. A great bloody brawl. I think all their matches have, for the most part, been really good. Really fun brawl. If you can't stomach guys throwing chairs at other guys' heads and it looking like it's being done carelessly, this is not a match you should watch because you're probably going to hate it. But if you could pretty much look at it as a wild brawl with two trios that absolutely were in a blood war, and you don't mind, and you kind of expect this sort of thing that they're doing with the chair shots. They brought out 2 beer bottles that weren't used immediately. They kind of built to it. They actually had a couple of times where the referee would stop a guy from each team from using a beer bottle on their opponent. And it's funny because as soon as the ref would stop them from using the beer bottle, someone would just throw a chair at one of the guys' heads. And I was like, man, really, come on. It was, if they weren't doing that, it would have made more sense. But, I was okay with it because it was a really good brawl. Just a fun match. I also like the fact that they ended the match with like a beer bottle being hit over, I think it was Carta Brava Jr.'s head, and that being the end of the match. Great match. I'm glad that they actually showed the hair getting shaved. Not like sometimes where AAA will not air that stuff. If you're gonna do something like that, you have to air it, and I thought that was a good thing. Like I said, this is a match everyone should go out of their way to watch, unless you don't like the chair shot thing, like I said. So then we get to the main event, where Jeff Jarrett beat Dr. Wagner Jr. and Rey Mysterio to win the AAA World Mega Heavyweight title. This match was horrible. It featured a lot of stalling by Jeff Jarrett early on. He would eventually kind of like tell Wagner and Rey Mysterio that he wasn't going to get involved, and he would let them wrestle. But as soon as they started, he would trip them up. And then, Wagner and Mysterio got tired, so they ran out there and they like beat up a bit on Jarrett. Once they got into the ring, when Wagner and Mysterio were in there, it was perfectly fine. There was this one spot where Dr. Wagner Jr. couldn't do he couldn't put Rey Mysterio in a tapatilla, and it looked really bad. But for the most part, they were okay against each other. But whenever Jeff Jarrett would get involved, not only was Jeff Jarrett getting involved, but Jeff Jarrett would do very little. And what ended up happening was that it wasn't so much Jarrett involved. It was more Hijo de Tirantes just getting involved, tripping up Rey Mysterio and Dr. Wagner Jr. and just doing all this stuff that, the type of minor league stuff that no other promotion does. I mean, not even even CMLL, for a big match, won't do that. You will get some stupid stuff from Tirantes, especially if it's Tirantes that's a ref. Notice he'll do stuff like that. But for the most part, they kind of try not to do that stuff. I don't see that done in any other promotion, as far as at the major league level. That stuff is so minor league, and AAA just needs to cut that out. And they're not going to do it because that's part of how they book their shows. And, if someone ever decided to change their minds, it'd be such an improvement to their main events. So that's going on. Hijo de Tirantes gets knocked out. Dr. Wagner Jr. has a pin on Jarrett. Suddenly, La Parka comes out wearing a referee's t-shirt. Only it's not La Parka. You could tell it's not him. They walked about the same, so because La Parka is just as immobile as Conan is right now. So he comes in. He counts the first 2. He does a 2 count, then he stops and refuses to do the additional count, and then suddenly he helps Jarrett beat Dr. Wagner Jr. Everyone's in shock. Vampiro comes out, confronts La Parka. He unmasks La Parka, and it's revealed that it is Conan. Conan is back, and he is part of MAD. Then Juventud Guerrera and Kevin Killer Cross run out and attack Vampiro. Cross actually did, I think he powerbombed Vampiro or chokeslammed him or something. And from that move, Vampiro now claims that because of that move, he is now going to have to retire due to that injury. I think this is now Vampiro's 2nd or 3rd retirement within this year alone. Just tells you how many times this guy's going to retire. I don't even keep up with it because I don't want to read his Facebook page, and he has me blocked on Twitter. I don't even know why he has me blocked on Twitter. I never followed him, so it's like it doesn't make sense to me. I never even planned on following him. I usually just follow the Edecanes, really. Come on. This ends Vampiro for the moment, as far as like, I'm sure he'll still do the little screen appearance and stuff like that. He's still going to be around and stuff. I don't think that's going to stop him. I think he's just using that as his supposed retirement to get these guys more over. So then this is going on, and who should show up and confront Mad? Fenix. Fenix has made his return to AAA. So that even adds more confusion, because as soon as that happened, immediately everybody thought, what the hell's going on? Because Rey Fenix had just been announced for CMLL and appearing on this upcoming Friday show. So everyone was confused. Nobody knew what was going on. Show ends. After the show, Rey Fenix explains how his character Phoenix basically works for AAA, Lucha Underground, and Impact, and promotions that have deals with Lucha Underground. I think MLW might be the other one that was part of that group, although MLW is more of an independent. But I think that's kind of like the other group, because I think they use them as Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. And as if he works for other promotions, he is allowed to work as Rey Fenix. So that's what he explained. And he still said he would be in CMLL. A lot of people were kind of doubting it. There were a few people who said, oh, it's going to happen. But like I said, at the time that happened, you never know, because CMLL will they will switch on their decisions, change their minds on stuff from one day to the next. We've seen it happen. We saw it happen with Elite when they had to deal with Elite. I think it was in February. And like a week or 2 weeks later, they were basically no longer working with them. And they basically were like, it looked like it was a bad breakup the way that their press release was written. So a lot of people were questioning it. And it was interesting because I think I said on Twitter that we just have to wait for Monday if he's still on the poster, and if they announce him for some, because I mean they had already said that he was probably going to be on Informa at some point. So I think everybody figured he would be on Informa that the Wednesday, just to talk about his CMLL debut. And sure enough, Monday night I think they announced that he would be on Informa. So, that's pretty much, he's still in CMLL. He made his appearance on Informa. He was asked on Informa what his situation was as far as appearing for other promotions, because Julio Cesar Rivera, the announcer for Informa, then he basically made the point that a lot of people were talking about him appearing on another show, and he just wanted to clear up CMLL's side of things. CMLL's talent, the guys under contract to CMLL, will not be wrestling in another promotion that they are not in a relationship with. Basically, CMLL talent is free to work for Ring of Honor, New Japan, and independent promotions that book CMLL talent through them. But as far as working for AAA, that's basically what he was trying to say. As far as working for AAA, nobody from CMLL is going to go there. You never know. This was actually after the AAA Triplemania press conference, which I'll get to right after. I just wanted to clear up the entire thing with Rey Fenix. They didn't mention LA Park and him appearing at the Triplemania press conference. I don't know if that's gonna be something that continues on after that's gonna be the other thing. They've booked LA Park for 3 consecutive weeks. So what happens when they don't book him for 1 week on a Friday? A lot of people are going to immediately think, oh, is he gone? What's going on? So I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. They might actually have to book him at least another week just to clear it up. And then if they don't book him 1 week, it'll be because, he's getting that week off from. But, I think as soon as he doesn't appear on one Friday show, I'm pretty sure every single fan is going to start thinking, what's going on with LA Park? To me, it would make so much more sense if LA Park doesn't appear every Friday show, just because, especially if it's going to be the Ingobernables versus Familia Real every single week, because your fans are going to get tired of it. I think already a lot of people were like, oh, well, is he just going to do the Super Libre with Rouge? We haven't even gotten to that yet. if that happens, I would guess that match would happen in July. And then they would lead to, from that, they might actually go to like, spend another week or two just talking about, hey, let's do the mask versus hair match. Then it would probably be announced in August. The trouble here is that, he was announced for Triplemania. But getting back to Rey Fenix, he's based the way he and Julio Cesar Rivera explained it on Informa. He had made a commitment to make appearances for AAA, and he's going to fulfill those commitments with AAA. I'm assuming they must have contacted him and cleared things up when Konnan decided to return to AAA. He must have cleared it up when they worked out their situation with their Konnan. I'm guessing Konnan must have asked if he could bring these guys in, and he wanted to clear that up. I guess at some point CML must have contacted them, and I'm guessing whatever happened with, I don't know, because I don't really think, I think we're going to get a different story afterwards from everyone involved. But from what CML said is that Rey Fenix as Phoenix is going to fulfill his commitments with AAA. And once he's done with those, he's going to be appearing full time for CMLL as far as working shows for them. He's not going to be on every show because the guy's going to be in Lucha Underground. If Lucha Underground returns, he's going to be on there. He's probably going to be on Impact. He's probably going to be busy on the indie scene. He's working PWGs. He's AAW. He's everywhere. The Crash. He's going to be everywhere. So I would guess he's probably going to be just a guy who's going to be part of the rotation for them. That's pretty much what they were trying to say. I think him joining CML, if he came in, even just coming in every once in a while, you had a lot of CML fans. There's a segment of CMLL fans who constantly put down anybody who isn't part of the promotion by saying that they're not at the level of the guys that are already in the promotion. And they start talking about, oh, you need to prove yourself. You need to do this. You need to do that. Rey Fenix is good. I mean, I've seen this guy live. I've seen him a lot on TV. I've seen him, on YouTube and stuff like that. This guy is good. That's all that matters. He's if you were to put like the top 5 technicos in CMLL and you added Rey Fenix is top 5. You're putting him with Volador Jr., Caristico. He's better than Caristico, but I will still put Caristico. Volador Jr., Caristico, Dragon Lee, Soberano Jr., Rey Fenix. There's a couple of other guys in that mix that are, have the potential to be in that level. Audace is in there. There's a lot of like guys, but you could get Ali Parks in that group also. If you could get a guy like that and have him work on their shows, it's a big improvement to what you already have. I mean, it just strengthens the Friday show. Suddenly you have another guy to throw out there. You have some potential dream matches you could go to, not just singles matches, but just throwing him in there with trios matches, because this guy can provide so much more than maybe somebody that isn't at his level. He'll bring in a little more energy. I think that's the one thing I get from Rey Fenix. When I've interviewed a lot of luchadors, and one of the things you'll notice when you see and I've seen a lot of interviews with luchadors, and I've seen a lot of lucha libre matches, and even American wrestling. If you watch a lot of wrestling, you notice wrestlers who have a passion for what they do. They like to get paid for it. I mean, if they make millions out of it, great. But they have a passion for it. They'd probably be doing it even if they weren't making, if they were just doing it on weekends and had to get another job just to maintain it, but they do it for the love of it. I get that from Rey Fenix. I get that from Nero Casas. Penta El M the same. Volador Jr. the same. Daniel Bryan. I mean, guys like that, they love wrestling. And I think that's something that you notice with the guys. If you could add guys like that, the more guys you add to a promotion that are like that, the better. I mean, there are some guys that love wrestling, but they don't really put in the effort to, there's a thing where they love it, but they also live off it. And they don't really their concept of what they like in wrestling. It's like they like being in front of the crowd, but there's a lot of these guys like Nero Casas, the guys I mentioned, Dragon Lee, they want to give the best performance possible to the fans, and that's their way to like thank them for like for going to shows, for like becoming fans of theirs. And then, you know, fans pay them back by, you know, the money thrown into the ring, stuff like that. And I think that's, if you get more guys like that, the better. And, you know, I'm glad that if CML could build a roster where it's just that type of guys. I mean, and they have a lot of guys that are like that. Hechicero, Puma, Tiger, Reiko Meta, a lot of those Titan, all those guys are great. But then they have like this half of this roster that it's not that, some of them are just like kind of like burned out on wrestling, and it's kind of like that time for them to move on and do something else. Unfortunately, they don't really plan ahead, and they do this for such a long time that they kind of are stuck doing this for the rest of their lives. And you see it in them. Like it's like Nero Casas has had injuries in the past, but he still goes out there and tries to give the best performance possible. And then you have other guys who just mail in mad performances. And it's not just like the older guys, there's young guys that you could tell shouldn't be in there. But like I said, I think Rey Fenix being added, there's so many possibilities. I think the first dream match they're probably gonna do could involve Ultimo Guerrero somehow, just because I think that's the guy that they're always gonna go with. I wouldn't be shocked if they go Nero Casas. But already I'm just thinking of the 5 guys that I think would be amazing to see him work against. Obviously, Ultimo Guerrero, Negro Casas, Volador Jr., Dragon Lee, Soberano Jr., Cuatrero. So many guys. Templario, Audaz. I think Audaz probably give him a little more time, but Audaz, I don't know, man. I think Audaz is special. Like his rope work, I think, other than Aerostar and Grand Metallic, I don't think there's anybody at his level that uses, like, the way he uses the ropes very different from those guys also. Like, even to Rey Fenix. And Rey Fenix is another guy who uses the ropes a lot. Same thing with Volador Jr. Guys like that are they just look really good in the ring. I found it so insulting that people were, like, putting Rey Fenix with his debut. Like, they were trying to compare him to, like, other past AAA guys like Cibernetico and Electroshock. And those are guys that, you know, and Cibernetico is another guy who, like, you know, he's not very good in the ring, but if you ever hear him talk about wrestling, Lucha Libre, the guy really likes Lucha Libre and he really understands a lot of it. I just think he just can't go, and he's never been that good. So, you know, there's a lot of guys that are like that. You know, it's very, I don't think I think it's a combination of, can you know, put the effort? Do you love what you're doing? And you have to be good at it too. And, you know, I think that's where Rey Fenix, that's the category he's in. If you could mark off all 3 of those, that's Rey Fenix, Nero Casas, guys like that. There's a couple of guys that if you say those 3 things, they might get 1 out of those 3, or they might get 2 out of those 3, but not a lot of guys get the 3, you know, love the business, put in the effort on every match, and, you know, are just good naturally. So then the other news. Triplemania. AAA held a press conference this past Tuesday for Triplemania to announce the Poker de Ases 4-way mask match. And so many of us, they had already announced the first 2, Hijo del Fantasma, Psycho Clown. Psycho Clown was actually announced for that. Then Hijo del Fantasma beat Tejano Jr. to enter that match. I don't even know why, because Tejano Jr. doesn't have a mask, but that was like the thing that they did. Really weird. But then they added that, so it became a mask match. And I think everybody, you know, Dorian Roldan, from the moment they started doing that, started trying to convince LA Park to be in the cage in this match, in the main event. And LA Park and him had a back and forth. If you follow them on Twitter, you would have seen it. I don't follow Dorian, I follow LA Park, so that's how I knew. So they had this back and forth nonstop, and everybody was throwing out. They had that press conference back in, I think it was, what was it, March, April, and they were doing the press conference for this with Psycho Clown and Hijo del Fantasma back then, and they were throwing out names like who is it? The CML guys. They were throwing out Atlantis, and I think even Rouge, and because Hijo del Fantasma was building his own thing with Rouge involved, and on Twitter. That's the other thing. A lot of this stuff is happening because of social media, and I think all this stuff I think this is what's going to end up hurting CML with some of their guys like Rouge, Volador Jr., Ultimo Guerrero. I don't think Ultimo Guerrero so much, but Rouge, Volador Jr., some of the other guys within the promotion, because they're seeing that these independent guys are getting the chance to work elsewhere. They're going to start asking, how come we can't do that? And I think that's going to end up leading to it, because they constantly retweet all that stuff that the fans tweet out, like, oh, why can't you be in AAA? Or why can't you be in CML? If CML doesn't want to do this match, why don't you go to AAA and have the match with LA Park and stuff like that? So I think that's going to lead to a lot of that stuff. I think CML doesn't expect, I think they're kind of blind to that. But if it happens, it's probably going to be it's just going to happen. So back then that was going on. They were throwing out challenges, and right after that, I think all of us just assume, well, what's going to end up happening, they're just going to throw in La Parka and Dave the Clown, and Dave the Clown's going to be the one that loses the mask because, he's, they're not going to get some big mask to get dropped at Triplemania. And, well, we were wrong. They end up delivering. It's going to be who should show up at this this past Tuesday's Triplemania press conference. LA Park and his son Hijo de LA Park. Really surprised everyone, because LA Park has been working has been appearing on CML shows, just added to the confusion of everything that's going on, not just with Rey Fenix, but also Penta M, because he's been rumored to be going to CMLL. That actually, Conan hinted to that right after the Verano de Escandalo show. He kind of hinted to that. And then on this press conference, the second guy that was introduced for the Poker de Ases match, it wasn't Hijo de LA Park who would be the fourth guy. He was just there to sit next to his dad. The fourth guy ended up being Penta M, but he as Pentagon Jr. in AAA. And then Pentagon Jr. kind of hinted at the possibility of appearing in Arena Mexico. So apparently that's also in the works. I would guess that's probably going to happen at some point. It's possible that because Pentagon Jr. is going to be in Triplemania, that maybe they might wait a little bit longer, or maybe they'll do it afterwards. Because I'm guessing it's probably going to be sooner, just because I think CML is going to want to do something like that. This is going to be a huge mask match, 4-way match. I think immediately once they announced that, I kind of felt bad for Hijo del Fantasma, because as soon as they announced it, everybody just assumed Hijo del Fantasma was going to be the one that would lose his mask, because everybody is hoping LA Park keeps his mask and loses it to Rouge at the anniversary, or actually beats Rouge in the hair match or whatever. And it was funny because they had the reporters there, and the very first thing they asked LA Park was if this was going to affect his opportunity to have that match, mask versus hair match against Rouge. LA Park then said the whole thing about how that hasn't been confirmed to him. That mask versus hair match hasn't been confirmed by CMLL. He knows that they're booking him. They are booking him on shows, but he has not been told. I'm pretty sure that's the plan. I don't think that's LA Park. I don't think they're bringing LA Park just to bring him in and work with Rouge in these matches. I think the plan is to have him be in a mask versus hair match at the anniversary. So I don't think he's gonna lose in Triplemania. I think with AAA, the idea was to get 4 of the biggest names possible who wear a mask, and they got pretty big names with Pentagon Jr., Hijo del Fantasma, Psycho Clown, and LA Park. I think everybody then said there's no way Pentagon Jr. is going to drop his mask. He would be insane just because he's doing so much on outside of AAA. And then so everybody just basically has Psycho Clown or Hijo del Fantasma, losing the mask. But this is going to be an interesting match. The other thing that's funny is Puma King is going to work the Aero Lucha show, so that adds a little. That's not as confusing, just because Aero Lucha has used Roosh in the past. I think they're probably I think CML's realizing, and I think some of their younger talent, some of the undercard talents, kind of like feeling, if you're going to let these guys get an opportunity, you should probably give the opportunity to everybody else. And I hope Puma King gets a little more opportunities outside of CML, because I think that would help him move up in CML, where if they see him being somebody that's in demand elsewhere, then they'll start moving him up. Otherwise, they're just going to view him as the second match throughout his career. I think he's somebody that should be in main events, really, or at least in semi-main events. He should be in those matches. He should be replacing like Mephisto and all those guys. But it's CML. Who knows? So this all happens. So now we have LA Park and Rey Fenix and possibly Pentagon Jr. all working for both promotions. There's also, I think there's been rumors that Messias might be also going to CML. I don't think he'll be going to AAA for the moment. I wouldn't be shocked if he returned, but I don't think he has a plan. The other thing that happened right after Verano de Escandalo, Dr. Wagner Jr. decided to announce that he was now an independent, and he would work for anyone from now on. I don't know if that's going to open the doors for him to return to CMLL, because he left kind of questionable also. I actually think the way he left that last time might have been even worse than LA Park, because LA Park, the reason he wasn't brought back was because he cursed and broke a rule. Whereas, when Wagner quit, he just called them on the phone and told them he had better things to do than work the anniversary show. That kind of seems a little more insulting to me, as far as it goes to CMLL. But he's now working independent. He did say he would accept taking bookings with AAA, but he just didn't want to be in another match where all the bullshit that happened in that title match happened again. I kind of think I have a feeling that what happened was he had a contract. They basically committed a certain deal with him to drop his mask, and then they gave him a title run, and then they tried to elevate it, do something out with his son, Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. A bunch of people are kind of like they kind of think Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. is okay. I've seen him in Elite, and I thought he was okay, but I'm not a huge fan of his. He to me just falls into the group with Hijo de LA Park. They're not bad, but they're not very, they're very average. They're better than some of the other crappier juniors, but they're not at that level of the other guys. Like, they're not Dragon Lee or guys like that are far better. No, that's about it. That's about all that's going on. We got all these surprises. I expect more surprises, like I said. I think we're probably gonna get Penta El Cero M on Inform at some point. Fortunately, they don't have to sit through the entire 2 hours of this show. He'll probably be on a Friday show at some point. I think it's fun time to be a Lucha Libre fan. I'm trying to remember if this is ever. I know AAA and CML worked together for that Padrísimo show back in 2000. I think it was it 2000? Was it June 17, 2000? But I just don't think you could really compare it to that, because they kind of were forced into working to do that show by Televisa. I kind of think this is like what Rey Fenix, LA Park, and Penta El Cero M are trying to do. I think they're trying to do what the guys from the El Toreo era were doing, where they were free to work anywhere, and the Toreo guys would show up and work in EMLL on EMLL shows. Like, they would show up on an EMLL show on a Friday or a Sunday, and then they would work El Toreo either on a Friday or a Sunday, or they work 1 week there and then they work 1 week in El Toreo. And I think that's what they're kind of trying to do. I think it's cool. I think it brings like new life to both promotions. I mean, it wasn't too long ago. It wasn't too long ago where we were talking about how boring AAA was, how bad AAA was, and now I think that's the problem with AAA, is that their big shows, they still have that problem where they overbook too much, so it just like nothing really like sticks to you besides the opening match. The rest of the stuff is just like a bunch of bullshit stuff that everybody ends up hating. But with CMLL, at least they're kind of building the Friday show up, and there's actually more hope for potential good matches. I mean, we've been getting a lot of I think lately we've been getting a lot of good matches. I wish they would do something with that Tuesday show. I mean, just it's Martes de Nuevos Valores. How hard would it be to book a bunch of young guys and maybe throw in a couple of the veterans who aren't working the Guadalajara show? I mean, the Guadalajara show on Tuesdays is usually loaded with CML guys, the Mexico City, like the stars. Why not just do that, and then the 1 week that somebody's not over there, bring him there. Bring in some of the independent guys to work the Tuesday shows too. I mean, the Tuesday shows, I'm pretty sure you look at the posters, there's usually maybe 2 or 3 shows on a Tuesday compared to the weekends where there's a bunch. And then let the Saturdays, Sundays just be the shows for all the CMLL guys, because nobody even watches those besides the people attending, and they'd be different. They'd be very different from everything else. Tuesday show, I mean, like I said, if you did a show where it was just the young guys, and that's what I mean, even those old veteran guys. I'm not talking about young guys facing those old veteran guys that can't that don't want to do anything for those young guys. I'm talking about bring in guys who could work with those guys and make them look good. There's plenty of guys who will go out of their way just to make a match look good. They'll do that, but it's CML doesn't do anything on Tuesdays. So like I said, at least we're getting the Friday shows getting stronger. AAA shows are getting a little more interesting. What else is going on? Well, Lucha Underground starts next week, so that's something to look forward to. I don't know. I'm curious how many people are still watching that show, because I know a lot of people just gave up on it after the first season ended. I knew a couple of people who told me that they were done with the show. I think maybe the final weeks of the first season, they were kind of just burned out on the show. But then there were a lot of people who watched the entire first season, really liked the first season, and then when they came back for the second season, a lot of people just kind of gave up on the second season. A couple of people stuck around for the second season, and then there were the third season where it was a little bit iffy. And I've seen some spoilers for the fourth season that's going to start next week, and I don't know. I'm not as excited about it as I was when it first started, and it was really just really something that was very different. And I was comparing it to when you first watch ECW, or when I first watched Mid-South Wrestling during certain hot periods. It worked really well the first season, but then the last couple of seasons hasn't been that great. I think they've kind of gone, from what I've seen in the spoilers, they've kind of gone away from using the guys from Mexico and more using guys from the US, and that's not what I wanted to see. That's not Lucha for me. That's not Lucha Libre. That's Lucha Underground just using the Lucha Libre name to try to come across as being different to WWE or Impact. How Impact comes across more like what Lucha Underground should be, because they actually have a lot of the guys working that show that actually do that stuff there. So, I don't know. And then I think our Lucha's happening next week also, and there's already a lot of that show looks kind of interesting. I don't know what's going on with that promotion. I know they're trying to get TV, but yeah. So that's about it. Be sure to check out the website LuchaWorld.com. Follow us on Twitter. I say that it's plural. Well, you could follow Vandal Drummond at Vandal Drummond. He's not here right now. Follow me at The Real Fredo. I'm trying to use a little more of the Lucha World at Lucha World Twitter account. You'll notice that I'm actually posting the Lucha Report on there as well, and the other stuff that I do. I started doing that just because I think when I first started, I basically got that account because there was this one time where they locked Twitter blocked me out of my own account. So I had the Lucha World account, and I started using that. But I had said I wanted to use that more so people could, if they don't want to follow my nonsense recapping Informa, they could go on there and they could just get an abbreviated version of what I tweet. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm actually I'm trying to do that a little more consistently than before. Check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/LuchaWorld. Added a podcast covering a Lucha Classica episode where we're covering all the titles in CML. And, I realized I forgot the CML middleweight title. Like, I think I brought it up at one point, but then I just never went back to it because I got distracted. I mean, Kurt could not rename any champion in CML right now besides El Terrible. And, I don't know, like, it boggled my mind that he did that. That's why he doesn't do this show that much. He doesn't watch a lot of wrestling. I mean, I told you guys, and, he's in the last couple of weeks, he started to watch a little more. Like, if you follow his Twitter account, you'll see that he's kind of mentioning that he's been watching a little bit more of the Dinamitas and stuff. Like, he watched the LA Park debut, and he's watched a little more stuff. So he's catching up with us. He still won't watch AAA. I don't blame him. But, and I'm not going to I don't force people to watch stuff. Like, if you want to watch something, you're going to watch it because you want to. So that's about it for this week. I hope everybody enjoyed the show.